Hello and welcome to PAXTON Road TV. This is the PAXTON Road TV preview show for the game Tottenham Hotspur versus Chelsea, kicking off tomorrow at 4:30 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And I, for one, am not really looking forward to the game, but I must do the previews anyway. And I'm joined in the house, as usual, superstar guest, Mark Hotspur Hustler, and hopefully a very much a regular guest appearance, Tanya Leona. How are we doing, guys? How are we doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure having you on, Tans. You know that. Yeah, let's get straight into this. It's not wasting any time. Let's talk about the game tomorrow. We can only describe the last week as horrendous. We're flying. We're on top of the league. Everything's happy. Everything's rosy. We play Crystal Palace, and to some degree, some people think the wheels are falling off. We then go into the Rennes game. Not the best of performance, but come away with results. Injuries after injuries, players missing, not coming back from international break, which seems like ages ago. Players are still off. It's just not been the greatest of weeks for Spurs, and I think it's probably been one of the hardest weeks for Nuno so far. So given that it's probably been his toughest week so far, and I'll come to you first, Tanya. How do you think Nuno and the team will perform against Chelsea tomorrow, based on the circumstances that we've had over the last week or so?
I mean, this is Chelsea. They're champions of Europe. So I think even if we had our full strength team, it's going to be a very difficult task to beat this Tuchel side. They're very strong defensively, so hard to break down. And then they've added in a striker like Lukaku, who is an absolute beast, and he looks like a completely different player for Chelsea. So it's going to be difficult for us. I can't really see us winning this game, I'll be honest with you, just because of the injuries and because of the way we've been playing at the moment. I find us to be quite pragmatic under Nuno, which is a little bit frustrating. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's Jose still creeping in. They haven't shaken that off yet, but I just want to see us play a little bit more attacking. I think off the ball, we're terrible off the ball. And, I just want to see us actually put the 100% effort in, which is what you were talking about, Sam, before we went live. But yeah, it's going to be difficult. I just think you're looking at this Chelsea side. They're superior to us in every department. Their midfield, they've got Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho. They've got a defense of Rudiger, Thiago Silva. They have such top class players. And when you look at our squad at the moment, the midfield especially, it's worrying. It is worrying. We just have to try our best. What can I say? I have to be honest and say that, Chelsea are just a better side, and it's going to be hard for us to get a result, unfortunately.
Thanks for that, Tanya. That's really going to help my Saturday for the rest of my Saturday.
Sorry, guys.
But look, this is the truth. This is what we've got to do. We've got to go through these things. And I'm going to come to Mike in a minute, but I agree with a lot of your points there. They're obviously champions of Europe. They have added to that champions of Europe squad by probably the most informed striker in the world at present. Obviously, there's a lot of strikers who are world class, but Lukaku, having gone from Manchester United, a player that could score goals but didn't have an all-round game. I think his touch wasn't the greatest. He's worked on a lot. He's worked on his physique. He's worked on his ability to hold the ball up better. He just looks like an all-round number 9 who can also run channels, who can also drop short, who can go in behind. As I've talked about on previous shows, that's the sort of striker that's going to cause no end of problems for any pairing, any back three. So we do have to be mindful. I think Mike, he was saying that he could be out, and I'm there doing this. Hopefully, if he's out, that would be good. That'd be great.
I've just been looking, but they've got it as a predicted lineup of 3-1-4-2. I think it was.
Yeah, 3-1. It's what I've seen is like a 3-4.
3-4-2-1. No, they've got it here. They've got it on there 3. What was it? 3-4-1-2. So, I mean, obviously, they've got it here. Werner and Lukaku up top.
Oh, they put Werner in the team.
Yeah, that's what they're saying as a predicted lineup. But
I've seen Havertz and what's his name, Ziyech. So they've got a choice. They've got absolute choices of what they want to do.
And that's the thing. Like, if we score early, you just know Chelsea have the firepower on the bench to change it. And I just worry, what are we going to do to change it? That's the thing.
Yeah, my biggest thing about tomorrow's game is the inflexibility that we may have because of the players that we don't have available.
Yeah.
Tuchel, if you've got the world riches like he has, and the nous in terms of the tactical aspects of the game, he can change it. I'm not sure if they're going to change to anything like a 4 at the back. I think they're going to go, they're tried and tested 3 at the back. It will be the 3-4. I think it's going to be that 2-1 because I really believe Werner, although he's a player that can cause problems, is not Lukaku. So Lukaku does operate well on his own. But if you've got Havertz and then Ziyech behind him, and then behind them you've got Alonso one side, Reece James on the other side, Kovacic, possibly Sayo, possibly Kante, depending on who they pick, and they're back three, sorry. Christensen, Rudiger, and who else is in the back three? I don't even want to go through their team. What am I doing?
I know, what are we doing?
Mike, how do you think Nuno's going to perform in the team tomorrow?
Say that again. Sorry, Sam, your stream's a little bit behind, mate.
Okay, so how do you think Nuno's going to perform given the situation of the players, etc., tomorrow?
Do you know what? I really don't know. This is one of those games where I just don't know what Spurs side is going to show up. I honestly don't. It all depends on who's available. I think that's what it's going to boil down to: who's available. It's one of those games I don't even want to predict what the lineup could be because it could either you could say, Son could be back fit, Dyer could be back fit, the South American lads could all be back fit, but then is that wishful thinking? I honestly don't really know. Like, it's one of those I don't even want to predict a scoreline because
we're gonna have to because that's at the end of the show, so we're gonna have to do that.
I'm hoping that if we've got to make changes to the side, that it doesn't piss about the side that like he did against Palace, because if he only made a couple of changes against Palace, i.e. if he had put Rodon in alongside Dyer and he brought in, say, Hill instead of Son, because obviously Son was injured, and then that meant that Dele Alli reverted back into the normal midfield three and you just didn't see Winks, I don't think we would have lost. I honestly don't think we would have lost. Even if we were playing bad, I think we would have been solid enough to come away with at least a point, which in the grand scheme of things, a London derby, even if it is Palace, you'd be happy to walk away with a point, given those circumstances, if you're playing badly, etc. But if he messes around with his team tomorrow, i.e. he starts playing Ali out on the wing, brings in Winks,
it's going to get toxic, I think, because I've been a little bit frustrated with Nuno, I'll be honest. And I'm not Nuno out, by the way. And this is what I want to, put straight, because I think you're allowed to still criticise a manager, even if it's early doors. 100%. That lineup against Palace, for me, I just hate when managers almost set us up to fail. Yeah. You are setting us up to fail by playing a midfield of Winks, Skip, and Højbjerg.
Well, I'll put this on the screen whilst you're talking, Tan. So this was the lineup versus Palace, and
he set us up to draw.
Exactly.
It was a very, very strange lineup, given the fact that it was almost like a diamond shape, but we didn't seem to be able to control the midfield, which was strange. If you've got 4 players in there, you should be able to control the midfield. Skip didn't look 100% fit. Højbjerg didn't look on his game. Winks, we all know about Winks. Dele Alli, well, again, he was kind of drifting out, coming into the centre. And the front two, Moura and Kane, I'm not quite sure if it worked because Moura didn't really play alongside Kane. It was very much just almost like a thrown together team. Obviously, given that Dyer went off fairly quickly, Tanganga got sent off. Emerson was his debut against Zaha. Yeah, you could see where all the problems were coming from. But of those players on that screen there, we ain't got the choice of Tanganga. He's unavailable. I doubt we'll see Dyer tomorrow because of the injury that he sustained. Although Nuno was very cryptic about who was available. Moura again came off slightly injured against Rennes.
Is he injured or is he fit?
I think they're both I
both injured.
Serious injuries. I'm sure I saw a quote from Nuno that said it's painful.
Oh,
so
yes.
Yeah.
No Bergwijn potentially. Son, we don't know about. So who would you put in this starting 11? Mike, who would you put in? I know Darius is going to do, and I'm going to promote it. Darius's 3K's the lineup. He's coming at 4 o'clock, so you can have a look at what Darius thinks. But I don't want to be on that show today because I ain't got a clue who's going to pick. But I'm going to ask you two. Who do you want to see tomorrow in this lineup?
I'd put myself in at centre back. I'm putting it out there. Call me up, Nuno. I will fit in at centre back alongside Rodon. We'll deal with Lukaku.
If Sanchez is available, right? I personally think we need to play a back three. I think we need to match Chelsea.
I agree.
The only thing is, do we have to? I mean, Rodon can play unless we put Davis in and Sanchez, and then play.
Don't do it. Don't say it.
Stop it, Tans. Behave yourself, Tans. You're not coming back on the show if you start doing things like that.
Oh, she mentioned Davis. He's arguing Sanchez at the moment.
But who else have we got, lads? We haven't got anyone else. So.
I'm thinking that we could play a back three of Sanchez, Romero and Rodon. I think we're going to have to do it. I think you probably play Emerson,
which isn't bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. We can go with that. Emerson, Region as wing backs. They play better as wing backs. Emerson, I think, still got some proving to do. It's the midfield. I think Tangan. Go on, sorry, Mike.
That 5 you mentioned there is fine. We've obviously Lloris in goal.
Yeah, I think that's.
I think that's probably our strongest back 5 that we could have.
I've wanted to see that anyway. I'm surprised we've not tried it, to be honest.
I mean, you could argue Sanchez and even Dyer. They've had a good season so far, albeit only three or 4 games, whatever you want to call it. But I think that back 5 is on paper is probably the strongest. It's the midfield.
Yeah,
that's our issue.
I think tomorrow's game you have to, and I'm saying have to. I think it's an absolute must that Ndombele plays tomorrow. I would like to see Højbjerg and Skip alongside each other, but ahead of that, because we're going to be missing potentially Bergwijn, potentially Lucas, potentially Son. If we don't have someone like, and Lo Celso's back as well. Again, is he going to be fit enough? Lo Celso's already had his injury worries anyway. But the thing is, we've got to see that creativity of someone like Ndombele. I know Dele's supposedly could play in that position, but for me, what Ndombele showed in that game against Rennes, he's got to play.
Yeah, he has to play for me, and if he doesn't, I'm going to be annoyed, really annoyed.
Very much so.
I know we've questioned his attitude, but you can't deny the performance that he had, whether it be, it was against Rennes, but I think he does deserve to start in this game, considering the injuries. And he is just that player that is going to drive forward and make things happen. Like, we need that. We desperately, desperately need it. I think as well, Gil has to play. I mean, surely he gets into the team.
Good shout.
If we've got no Mora and Bergwijn, who else have we got? There's no other wingers.
Henry Sago here saying Lloris, Royal, Sanchez, Romero, Rodon, Region, Højbjerg, Skip, Ndombele, Dele, Kane. Actually, that's not a bad shout as a lineup. You could possibly look at Dele for Gil, but as I said, I wouldn't be too disheartened at that starting lineup because I think Dele's proved that he has been working. Just whether or not he can get back to the Dele that we know 3 or 4 years ago is going to be debatable, but he's certainly putting in the defensive work, which I think we're going to need tomorrow, 100%. Do we want to look at the previous results against Chelsea? That was one of the slides I had. Let's do it anyway. Let's do it anyway.
Really.
Okay, it's not good reading. It's not good reading.
It's always 2-0 Chelsea as well, always.
It's Chelsea. The last game, 1-0 defeat at home. Away to Chelsea is always going to be tough, but we did get a draw against them in 2020. But as you can see, no wins in the last 5 Premier League games against Chelsea. And they've I'll be honest, they've got stronger. So we are going to be in for a tough shout. How do you think we're going to respond from, I guess, the Rennes game? And given, the approach that we're going to have, do you think this is okay, I'll put it another way. If we came away with a draw, would that be okay? Would that be a good result for us? I'll go to you first.
I think you have to take a draw because there's context to this. As I said at the beginning of the stream, Chelsea are champions of Europe. they're probably favourites to win the league. They have a far superior squad. They have a better manager. So to come out with a draw, considering the results that we've had and the way we've been playing recently, I'd take it. I would absolutely take it. It's better than a loss, right? So, yeah, you take a draw 100%.
I'll read out Bob's Spurs comment. Great to see beauty on the screen. My balance fact is Nuno could have made just 2 changes going into the Palace game. Rodon for Sanchez and Gil for Son. Nuno did a no, or a no, should I say.
No.
And I think he's right. I think that when we all saw that midfield three, we was like, nah, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to be too good. Why is he doing this? And so it proves.
Sorry, Sam. I just worried that Winks might play, because why didn't he play in that game? Honestly, I think he might play him, you know. Because why was he not playing? Because I was expecting a Winks to play in that game. But the fact that he didn't, I'm just like, please don't tell me he's playing.
The sad thing is, I don't know if it's sad, but the strange thing is, he wasn't even our worst player against that team at Palace. That's the concerning thing.
My concern is if he does play Winks, well, he's going to have to play Højbjerg anyway, because Højbjerg is definitely going to start because he's one of our mainstays. But how can you then not have Skip playing? I don't think you. So the formation, if you wanted to go to a back three, I don't think you can fit them 3 in. If you play a 4, you could, but then I think we're going to be under a serious. I think the team selection,
it can't work.
You're right. The team selection and formation is 100%. Got to be spot on from Nuno. I don't mind if we get beat tomorrow. And I'll come to the predictions when we do the score predictions. But it's the performance, because we're at home. The fans, and that's what I'm going to say. How do you think the fans are going to respond if it is the negative approach that we saw against Palace and we saw potentially against Rennes in that, in some of the parts of it? We did come back in the game, I know. But how do you think the fans are going to take to the game tomorrow if it's a negative approach, Tanya?
Yeah, I think fans are going to get very frustrated, because we're already seeing it. There are some fans out there that are Nuno out, and that's, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not there yet, but I'm not happy with the performances I've seen. I think the stats that I've been seeing as well, it's very damning stats. We're like bottom for passes completed. We're making a lot of blocks, and Kane, he's hardly been involved. And to be honest, I think Kane, a lot of it is fatigue from the Euros, but he's the one guy that needs to turn up in this game. Like, they can't have a Lukaku firing and we have a Kane that isn't firing. Like, Kane needs to be on it. I'm not seeing him perform the way he did last season, but as I said, it could be fatigue. And it's the lack of creativity. He hasn't had a pre-season either, has he? Not had a pre-season. So, yeah, I just want to see us, as I said, I think it's off the ball. I find us very poor. Like, in that Man City game, I think a lot of that pressing won us the game. We were so
100%.
good off the ball. So I just think, let's bring that into this game, and we need to just be defensively tight. Like, we have. That's why I say we have to match Chelsea, because I'm just worried.
Thing is, who's going to do the pressing if Moura's not playing? Who's going to be the one to lead the press?
Oh Jesus! All right, Mike. If you was at the game, if you was at the game tomorrow, and you saw the way we set up against Palace, how would you be how would you feel as a fan if you saw that?
I would walk to the dugout and I would call for a substitution, and I'd hook off Winks. I'd be like, Winks, you're done, mate. Have a seat. It's not your fault, but you're done for the day. No, just to the side. I honestly actually don't really know. It's one of these at the moment where Nuno's only been in charge. He was late to the party because obviously Paratici had to come in, who was obviously late being appointed. I think Nuno and Paratici have been up against it slightly because, as I say, they've come into the fold a little bit late. You would have liked to seen them sort of in and appointed probably before the season last season was done. But you got to give the guy a chance, haven't we? I mean, we can't write him off after 4 games. And I mean, when you look at the injuries and the players that we've had out because of this international debacle, he's up against it. And what choices has he got? I mean, we've got rid of the players that we needed to in the first window. The players we got rid of, I thought was fine. It was good. We needed to get rid of him. He's done that. We've brought players in. Okay, maybe not for the now, but they're for the future. Could anyone foresee us with the international debacle, the players that are out, the injuries that we seem to be picking up, you could say, oh yeah, I knew this was going to happen, but I think it's one of them, isn't it? But as long as I think my mindset is, as long as we perform well, if we lose but perform well, I could take a loss. As long as we've put in a very good performance, a much better performance than what we saw against Palace.
100%.
I do agree with what you're saying, Mike. Like, it is still very early, but I do want to see improved performances.
I think progression is key. Progression is 100% key.
Absolutely. Because I just think at the minute it is very Jose-esque at the moment, and I don't know what it is with us. Like, we start off well, first 10 minutes, and then we just like take our foot off the gas every single time. What is that about? You know, is it the players? Is it, you know, Nuno? Who is instructing us to just not continue?
Tans, you made a very good point, because that's what happened against Rennes. First 10-15 minutes, we looked like, oh, this is going to be quite a straightforward game. We scored, and then we kind of almost took our foot off, and then Rennes put their foot on. Just this comment here from Cody Mack. Welcome, Cody. Thanks for watching. If Levy decides to sack Nuno, do you think Paratici walks? Noises from inside the club say Livy nicked the Traore deal, and Fabio was not happy. What's your thoughts on that before we go to the score predictions?
It's hearsay, isn't it?
To be honest, I could, if that is true, if Levy did jeopardise the Traore deal, which wouldn't surprise me, you can imagine Paratici might get frustrated. I think if you are bringing in a director of football, you have to let them do what they need to do. And if that's happening early on, and if that continues, then you could say, yeah, Paratici could potentially walk.
So Paratici was the one who was championing Nuno, if according to reports, and kind of convinced Stanley, again, according to reports. So it's his man. So he would want that manager to at least have the season, I would imagine. But the pressure you've got to. But the pressure that's going to be mounting, and I've kind of seen, you know, in the way that Nuno's interviews are. You know, when Jose was there, he was very much, he could talk for Portugal, pretty much. Nuno is very short, sharp, swift in his comments, and now he's getting under more and more pressure. He's even shorter in his comments, and the pressure looks like it's on his face. Now, that's the one thing I've always maintained about him. He's not great in interviews, and I just want to see a manager, even if you're feeling that everything's on top of you, project something that the players are going to see, and we as fans are going to see, and we go, you know what? We know you've got a hard day, Nuno, but we're back with you. He just looks like a manager under a lot of pressure. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think for me, though, I don't care what our manager does in the press conferences. If he's doing the stuff on the pitch, or he's got his team doing the stuff on the pitch, I couldn't care if he just gave one or two worded answers in his press conferences. I couldn't care if Tottenham were winning. I wouldn't care if he didn't do any press conferences. Really. I couldn't care. But yeah.
The one thing that did frustrate me, though, is when after the Palace game, he said that we lacked creativity, but you put out a midfield that screams no creativity.
Don't set yourself up.
That annoys me.
He did shoot himself in the foot with that one. I don't know why he said that.
No creativity. Well, no shit, Sherlock. You got Winks, you got Højbjerg and Skip. You might as well just play them at centre back alongside Rodon and.
Like in the Rennes game, playing like Royal right wing, and taking Kane off as well. I mean, I know we had to think of the Chelsea game, but I don't know. It's questionable.
I kind of get the whole with Royal playing at right wing. I mean, he's Brazilian, so these fullbacks, these Brazilian fullbacks, they're not defenders really. They've got that inclination just to get the ball and just hit the byline and make something happen, but.
I know exactly.
It's painful, man.
Let's do this. Let's do this part. Let's get off this stream, because I'm getting slowly even more depressed, and I don't want to be. It's Saturday. I want to go and enjoy my Saturday. Right then, score prediction. Hustler. Give me your score prediction.
I'm going 1-1.
Oh, I like that. That's what I was going to shout, but I'm going to stick with a draw. But yeah, 1-1. Anything more on that? Do you want to?
Do you know what? I'm going a Dele Alli goal.
Oh God! Wow.
He loves a Chelsea goal, old Dele. So I'm gonna go with Dele notch him.
I like that.
He's scoring. No chance.
I like that. Tans, what are your thoughts?
Oh no, I won't be negative, Nelly. Okay, even though my heart is telling me something, but I'll go for a draw, because you know what? Sometimes when you're the underdog and no one is giving you a chance in hell to win, more than likely going to win. So I'll go for a 1-1 draw. But I'm just hoping for that result. But my heart is telling me something else.
It does depend on what this lineup will be, though. If I see a positive lineup, I think we might be able to do something. But if I see that midfield from last week, we're done.
Oh God!
I'm going to go with 2 results then. So I'm going to go with a result if we've got the players available. In terms of, Son might be back because it's all been cryptic. We don't know. And we get Lo Celso, we get Romero, and we get Sanchez into the team, or at least in the squad for the match day. I'm going to go with my official every single week 1-0 Spurs. If we don't, and we're under, I think a draw is going to be the best result we can hope for. If we don't have certain players playing tomorrow, it's going to be backs against the wall. If we come away with a draw with certain players missing tomorrow, I think it would be a good result. That's not the most positive, but that's realistic. We've got to be real here.
Key is just the players' mentality. Do they want to go out there and win? And then if you've got that mentality, I don't see why we can't win. We're at home. The fans are going to be rocking. It's a derby. I just want to see us go for it. I really don't want to see us look lazy off the ball, not bothered. That's really going to wind me up because, you want to beat Chelsea. Come on. Scum. You want to beat them. Yeah,
100%. 100%.
Oh, jeez. Oh, I'm breathe. I get myself up. Right. Okay. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Do all those things for us if you can. Really helps the channel out. Helps promote us as well. If you've watched it or the first time watching, should I say, please hit that subscribe button. Please also hit that like button. We try and bring as many contents as possible, as much content as possible. Look out for Darius 3K's predicted lineup show this afternoon, 4 p.m. And then we are on tomorrow, straight after the game, 6:35 for our reaction show, which could be very entertaining depending on the results, guys. Tanya, where can people find you? Give yourself a shout out.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Tanya_Leone, and the @'s just in the corner there. Catch me on Never a Foul Views from the Skywalk Tottenham channel. And catch me on the Terrace as well. And I'm here, there, and everywhere. Thanks for having me on, lads. Subscribe to PAXTON Road, please. Comment, and subscribe.
Thank you very much, Mike. I'm going to ask you the same question now. I don't usually do that. Mike, where can the viewers find you?
Mate, you can find me here on PAXTON Road. Normally, we do previews, post match. I've been on a couple of times with Sid Says, or Ask Sid as it is now. You can find me on Twitter, Mike Hotspur Hustler, and the same with Instagram.
Great. Well, at the moment, you can find me on Twitter and you can find me on Instagram. If we don't win this game this weekend, you won't find me anywhere for about at least a week. So that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm saying to that. Guys and girls. Thank you very much for that. It's been a pleasure. It's going to be interesting. Let us just hope for a performance. That's all I want to see. As I said, you can't always get the results you want given circumstances, but we can always expect the team, particularly at home, to put in the effort for us and at least to go and show us that the badge matters. The badge means something. And again, in football, does it always translate? It doesn't always, but I hope that they show something. So thank you very much for watching. It has been a pleasure. Tans, Hotspur Hustler. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.